we have Adil Moosajee, who has come in to talk to all of you. Adil, you all also know, owns the brand Ego, and they have been expanding to Soul by Ego, Edge by Ego, goSNAPP,
Yes.
and there's one more, right? The one that's online?
The East End and
The East End is. So, and there's a very unique eatery that they've opened and they've been really experimenting with. That's the East End. How many of you know of the East End? Okay. Have you been there? So it's a very unique concept. So Adil, I've known for like the longest time, 22, 23 years.
That's right.
And the thing that really fascinates me about Adil is that I've always heard him come up with ideas, lots of ideas, and we used to speak at length for hours. But over the years, what I realized was that those ideas have taken shape, right? They've realized into these beautiful brands, and he had a fascination with, creating these new experimental concepts on eating, and he actually realized that through the form of East End. If you haven't experienced East End, you can also go to the Instagram page, have a look at it. It's a very unique method. So whatever he's been spoken over the 22 years, I have actually also taken shape. And the most important part that I saw with Adil is that despite the fact that he's managing so many brands and a lot of entrepreneurial ventures, the best part about him is he always has time for himself and things that he loves to do. Because they're always complaining about time. Miss time nahi hai, miss time nahi hai, miss time nahi hai. So how come a person who's managing so many brands and running, this really unique concept of East End has the time to hang out at the beach, travel, meet friends, right? So obviously, what he's going to come and talk to you about is, design, his focus, and how he has been navigating these brands. But Adil do touch a bit about time management as well.
Sure.
Because एक बहुत बड़ा problem है. So Adil,
बिल्कुल.
please.
How are you? All well? Can you hear me back there? क्या हाल है? All right. मैं time management वाली चीज बता देता हूँ. It's not the answer you want to hear. I've got severe ADHD that makes me all over the place. I have high energy and low energy. And so very early in my life, I decided कि मैं कुछ manage नहीं कर सकता हूँ. In fact, people who were working with me decided कि ये कुछ manage नहीं कर सकता है. So they took over. So I keep creating new things and my team manages it. So I've been blessed with a great team. So you guys can do teamwork when you're doing your assignments? No, I'm just kidding.
No, but I tell them, say,
Really?
Take that from your mom, go talk to her, she will give you team much for it, tell her you try one, because everything is about teamwork at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I'm going to start. We have a very long talk, and we'll begin. So, आज की जो topic है, it is a combination of product, design, and marketing. So it's branding, right? Brand identity, all of that put together. And I will quickly go over the fact that Ego was not my first business. And it's important because it's important to realize that I had some background in business. So when I was 16 years old, I'd just come back from the US for a short bit. I started college when I was 16 in the US. और मैं यहाँ पे वेकेशन में पहुंचा और मैं यहाँ पे फंस गया बिकॉज मेरा वीज़ा एक्सपायर हो गया था और यूएस एम्बेसी बंद थी. तो माय पेरेंट्स गिव मी अ बिट ऑफ मनी एंड सेड कि यार अपने रूम का फर्नीचर ठीक कर लो. वो पुराने बचपन के पोस्टर्स और स्टिकर्स लगे हुए थे और बहुत खौफनाक कमरा था. तो उस जमाने में कोई खास फर्नीचर ब्रांड्स होते नहीं थे. एंड सो वी डिसाइडेड दैट वील मेक आवर ओन फर्नीचर. The furniture came home for polishing, and my parents' friends were there. They liked the furniture, and my mom sold it to them. So that was the first business. I started a furniture business. I kept making furniture. My mom kept selling it. It was awesome. That happened when I went to the US and came back. I worked mainly, but I started a men's tailoring company called M2, and that was my other venture. That stayed for a very short time because my family decided to start Moosajee's in Clifton. So वो conflict of interest था और हमने बंद कर दिया. And then I taught with Saira for a very long time at TIP. And then ego happened. So I went to the US for my master's. I came back. I said, कुछ करते हैं. And a whole bunch of conversations led to the fact कि यहाँ पे कोई casual wear company ख़वातीन के लिए, even मर्दों के लिए मौजूद नहीं है. So Generations was the only company that was really selling ready to wear, but it was very aunty and it was not cool, hip, casual at that time. अब तो काफी cool हो गया. तो हमने कहा यार ये करते हैं. सही है. It was a great time. My wife was in the US for 6 years and I was here for 6 years. So I was partying and doing whatever hell I wanted to. तो खैर, so it's important to realize कि मेरे पास पैसे इतने से थे, ठीक है, इतने से. तो कंपैरिजन बता दूं, गुल अहमद के पास पैसे इतने सारे हैं और मेरे पास इतने से थे, ठीक है. So a cousin of mine had a place on Zamzama that I got for a good deal. Got the interior rolling. Got some old college students of mine, got them on board. Designed the first line, got the team together. And that's when I realized कि यार आदिल तुझे तो कुछ नहीं पता. So the first thing what happened was that my architect told me कि यार मैं आपको ये जो शॉप है मैं आपको 1.5 महीने में करके दे दूंगा. अपने हिसाब से मैंने बहुत साइंस लगाई थी कि यार मेज़नाइन फ्लोर ऐसे करके बन जाएगा, फिर ग्राउंड फ्लोर तैयार हो जाएगा, फिर बेसमेंट वो दे देगा, तो इस तरह कलेक्शंस अंदर आएंगी और हम जीत जाएंगे. तो 1.5 महीने में जगह मिली थी, मुझे 6 महीने बाद मिली. तो मेरे पास सर्दियों का माल तैयार था गर्मियों में, ठीक है. So that's where the first problem happened. Second thing happened was that I said, "Okay, yaar, I'm going to rule the world." So I had kids' clothes, women's clothes, men's clothes, formals, casuals, everything under one roof. And it was too much of a hodgepodge. Acha, all the fittings were wrong, right? Because today, if you want to start a new brand, what do? You go to your favorite brand, you buy one outfit in each size, measure it up, give it to your master, pattern तैयार है, शुरू करते हैं, fine tune हो जाएगा. But there was no brand out there with sizes. So we had to actually get volunteer women to come in, measure enough of a sample size, turn them into boxes, and create today what is our small, medium, large XL. So there was no such thing. There was also no costing and pricing. You can't say, यार फला brand इतने में बेच रहा है, फला brand इतने में बेच रहा है, ये मेरे competition है, I need to be here, so reverse में ये cost होनी चाहिए. There was no such thing. We had to come up with कि कितने का बनाएं, कितने का बेचें, क्या बनाएं, what does a collection look like, how does it work? Nothing was available. So it was all created from scratch and it was wonderful. So 2 brands were doing it at the same time, us and Funk Asia. And Funk Asia, we both independently created about the same thing at that time. And then we took very different routes after we didn't know कौन क्या कर रहा है, but जब हम निकले तो फिर I guess we all decided कि नहीं, हम यहाँ जाते हैं, उन्होंने कहा हम यहाँ जाते हैं. So anyways, that's how the game started. And so it took us about a year to say, okay, we don't want to do menswear, we don't want to do kidswear, this we don't want to do, what is selling the most, what is the best feedback on, और फिर हमने सारी चीजें खत्म करके we just stuck to smart casual and casual women's wear. So we're the first brand to make separates of anything. उससे पहले 3 piece के अलावा आप कुछ खरीद नहीं सकते थे इस दुनिया में. So we came up with separates and then we created pairing. We gave the name of wraps to dupattas. We did a lot of firsts. Pants, we were the first. इससे पहले सिर्फ शलवारें हुआ करती थी इस दुनिया में. So pants, we were the first. So it was a whole bunch of, sorry?
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. So a lot of firsts. But here's what happened though. By the time we got all our clothes sorted, we got the whole thing done, 2 things happened. One thing happened was कि गवर्नमेंट ने तय किया कि यार जमजमा को खोद देना चाहिए, ठीक है, क्योंकि रोड बेहतर हो सकते हैं, वन वे हो सकते हैं. आइडिया अच्छी थी, उन्होंने खोद दिया, फिर उन लोग बनाना भूल गए. So this is roughly in 2007 mid, okay, and they didn't fix the roads until 2009. So for 2 years, road पूरे खुदे हुए थे अंदर गलियों के, which means you could come to the main Zamzama road, but you had to walk to any shop, and there was no sidewalk either. It was dug from edge to edge. So for about 6 months, I think about 2 people came to my store. So all the money, little money that we had, remember that much? वो इतना हो चुका था, ज़्यादातर गलतियों में और बाकी गवर्नमेंट की वजह से. And now we had these awesome clothes, right priced, right fit, right everything, and nobody there to buy. So one day we were just sitting, and I was like, "यार इसको बंद कर देते हैं." There was no social media, there was no e-commerce at that time. None of these things existed. So a friend of mine, you guys know a shoe brand called Stance? Shamine runs it. So Shamine was my acquaintance. She gave me a call. She's like, "Hey, there's a shop at Forum." The Forum at that time was Dolmen Mall of that time, right? It was it. You had to have a store there for anything to happen. मैंने कहा तुम पागल हो गई हो, 1000 स्क्वायर फुट की दुकान है, मैं तो इतनी छोटी दुकान का आदमी हूँ, और इतना सारा रेंट, उस जमाने में मॉल का रेंट वाज क्रेजी. He said, यार चलो मेरे बाप का दोस्त है, we'll talk to him, we'll see what we can do. And we got there, we had a meeting with this guy. And interestingly, he said कि 1 महीने का डिपॉजिट चाहिए, which was unheard of because बाकी physical दुकानें used to take 6 months or 1 year of deposit. And he said कि अगर आप दुकान 10 दिन में खोल दें, because Ramzan was right there, मैं आपको 1 महीना फ्री रेंट दे दूंगा. अब ये नॉर्म हो चुका है मॉल्स का, but at that time this was ridiculously cool. So I'm like, dude, I can do this. And she said, I can do it too. So it was a 1,000 square feet store, which is a little bigger than this room. And she said, I want 300 square feet here in front. And he said, बाकी तुम ले लो. मैंने कहा नहीं, मुझे भी 300 square foot चाहिए और बाकी तुम ले लो. So we couldn't figure it out. So anyways, the idea was too good to refuse. I sat down. I'm like, I called a friend of mine, Shahzad. I'm like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, Shahzad, yaar, you always tell me कि कोई अच्छा business का plan हो तो बताना. I've got a great plan for you. मैंने कहा, there's a space right in the back that nobody can see. It's 400 square feet and it's perfect for what I think you can do. He's like, what's that? I'm like, you can start a foot spa. You know, like how in Thailand you get foot massages and they're amazing, right? I'm like, that's what you can do. He's like, Adil, I don't know anything about that. I'm like, look, if you can bear 1 month's rent, I will set it up for you. I'll do the interior, I'll hire people, I'll train them, I'll do everything, and I'll give it to you. He's like, are you serious? I'm like, absolutely. तो मुझे पता था कि मैंने 10 दिन में ये दुकान खोल ली, तो 1 महीने का रेंट वैसे ही फ्री है, 1 महीने का वो रेंट बर्दाश्त कर लेगा तो 2 महीने मिल जाएंगे, ठीक है? So here's what we did. We opened that store in 4 days. Okay, we just put a back. मैंने वो दुकान का सारा इंटीरियर निकाला, यहाँ लाके खड़ा कर दिया, वहाँ तो कोई नहीं आ रहा था वैसे भी. And Stance did the same because she was also on Zamzama. And we started. And that's where ego really started. In that 1 month, we did sales of what I had not done in a year. Not in 1 month, in about 22 days of Ramzan. So I remember the 23rd day, I opened the cash drawer. I took all the money that was in there. I put it in my pocket. And I went to the airport. And I boarded a plane to Thailand. Okay? And I told my team, यार तुम लोग चलाओ इसको, जितना चला सकते हो मैं जा रहा हूँ. मैं थक गया. And I went to Thailand, and what I did was I went to every single well-rated foot spa in Bangkok, took videos and photos and made notes, and then I joined a foot massage training camp and came back, hired one girl who would let me touch her feet because all the other women like, nahi aap matlab mere pe. So we found one girl, and then she would train everybody else. And all the notes, I did my first proper interior, which I'd never really done before. My furniture days, I'd done some offices. And yeah, we trained people, we made the thing, and we made the foot spa happen before time. And Raintree Spa, I don't know if you've been to Raintree. So since then, it's a salon because Lubna joined in and the salon happened. But initially, it was, you know, a unisex, cool foot spa. Anyway, so that happened. And ego is now running well. Everything is cool. Okay, except we have no money. But I just gone to Thailand, right? So, anyways, so I got back, and Shalem, who's the guy who runs the business, really, Razin's brother, he's like, यार आप जो है ना phone आपका बंद था. मैंने कहा हाँ ऐसे ही. He said कि भाई I've got a lot of calls. There are franchise requests from Lahore, Age Karim Baksh. And I'm like, acha, aisa bhi hota hai. I'm like, perfect, you know. So we are sitting down, and we had this place in Manzoor Colony, which was a full floor, about maybe 5 times the size of this room, and it was all open. एंड हम वहाँ बैठ के मीटिंग कर रहे हैं. हमारा 8 लोगों की सिलाई की टीम थी, जो हमारी प्रोडक्शन भी थी और सैम्पलिंग भी थी. We had 2 8-feet tables, which was our printing. We had a single head computer embroidery machine, which was all of our embroidery, and a huge fabric room, which was empty. And this was it. This was the factory. And Shalim and I are sitting, and he's telling me, करना तो है, लेकिन हमारे पास inventory के पैसे नहीं है. How will we manufacture it? How will it work? और मेरी जो टीम थी वो सुन रही थी वहाँ बैठी हुई. So they came to me and after work and they said, sir, बात करनी है आपसे. मैंने कहा बताएं. They said, यार आप ये जो मशीन है ना, ये आप हमें दे दें, हम इतनी मशीनें और लगा लेते हैं और we will give you a 30-day credit on whatever we stitch. I'm like, this is a great idea. So I'm like, अच्छा इसको pause करो, मैं कल बताता हूँ. And I called the people who wanted the franchise. We worked with them later. We had 3 stores in Lahore with them. I called them, I'm like, listen, this is something we can do, but बड़ा हिचकिचा के मैंने बोला कि मुझे डिपॉजिट चाहिए होगा, because माल कहीं से तैयार करना है, 3 महीने पहले डिपॉजिट चाहिए होगा. He's like, हाँ कितना चाहिए, चेक लिख के. So they gave us deposit from which the fabric came, okay, and these guys sort of stitched it. We did the printing over time, and I remember how that worked. And then I'm like, dude, we can turn this into like a amazing system. We keep getting franchises and we keep giving sewing machines out to people who will add machines to them. So we created a microfinance system for our vendors' growth. So anybody who had worked with us for 6 months qualified for a loan to buy 6 machines. And then as soon as they completed 3 months, they qualified for another loan for 6 machines. And then that just grew them into little factories. So we had this perfect formula of each store we started, how many people we had to fund to put in Salai machine and printing on their rooftops. And it became like this seriously cool thing. We grew to 34 stores doing this. And it was just ridiculous. Until one day, Gul Ahmad, Al Karam, Sana Safinaz, Nishat, I'm thinking there are 2 more. All of these big guys with mills decided कि यार ये तो पागल आदमी सही काम कर रहा है, ये करना चाहिए. And all of them, 7 brands launched their ready-to-wear collections together for the first time. And they were priced about half of where I was priced. So obviously we were giving money away, we were buying fabric on retail, we were paying these small factories, good profit margins, और बड़े इनएफिशिएंसी के साथ थाईलैंड की ट्रिप लगाते हुए हम ये काम कर रहे थे. और मिरो ने कहा कि सर ऐसा तो नहीं हो सकता, आप ही सब पार्टी कर रहे हैं. So they started and we crashed because we just couldn't compete. And we went from 34 stores to something like 9. So हुआ ये था कि क्योंकि हमने बहुत सारे stores ऐसे लोगों को दिए थे who had never done business before, but we had a scheme by which they could start stores. And they had started these stores, but they didn't have the funding to work with bad months. क्योंकि पीछे बैकअप में पैसा कोई नहीं था. So when bad times came, they started holding my money, and eventually problems happened. We had to, cut them off, and we were in a disaster. I remember मैंने क्योंकि कोई पीछे पैसे थे ही नहीं, remember इतने वाले वो अब इतने हो चुके थे. तो मैंने पठानों से पैसे उठाए थे जो मार्केट में lend करते हैं. They would call my house and my phone would ring and I would get jitters, man. I would lose my mind. And it took us 5 years to pay them back, but we started from scratch and we came back on top. So यहाँ पे ना बड़े मजेदार lessons हैं. I mean, these are all practical things, right? But I did pretty much everything that I learned in life or in college, right? So the first thing we did to work with less money was shorten throughput time. Anybody know what throughput time is? No? Okay. So any process that you do, the beginning time to the end time is called throughput time. Okay? So if I manufacture, let's say 100 kurtas, if I start on Thursday and if I end on Thursday, that 7 days is the throughput time. Okay? So in process, कुछ खत्म हो गए कुर्ते, कुछ अभी कटिंग पे लगे हुए हैं, कुछ प्रोसेस के बीच में इस तरह काम चलता है. But if you can shorten this throughput time somehow, if I can do what is done in 7 days in, let's say, 2 days, what will happen is that I get fabric on credit for, let's say, 3 months. And if I can process it in a few days, I'm still on credit until it goes into the store and sells, and then I can pay the vendor. Okay? So just to understand the kind of craziness we did, Sana Safina's, Gul Ahmad, Al Karam, their throughput time from design to shelf is about 3 to 4 months. In some cases, 6 months, right? Our sketch to shelf number of days are 22. Okay? So our average credit cycle is 90 days. So we have enough time to buy the fabric, put it in the store, sell it, and give you, right? So that's how we work. That funds us. The second thing that we did was when we crashed, जब हम पार्टी करके क्रैश कर चुके थे और सब बड़े भाई आ चुके थे काम में, we decided, dude, how do we get back up? I mean, we can never compete with these guys in rotary print, in lawn, in stuff that they do. We're like, okay, what are the things that they cannot do? They're too big to do block printing. They're too big to do hand screen printing. They're too big to do difficult cuts and difficult stitches. They are too big to do all of these things. They're also too big to work with small niches. So if people want, उस ज़माने में flowy कुर्ते जो कोई नहीं पहनता था, but only few people did, we could make it for those few people. So we made a list of all the niches that the mills, I was confident, just couldn't do, and we said we'll only do this. And we did it. And what was awesome about that was that I could connect with a very small bunch of women, in most cases one-on-one, and know them, know exactly what they want, know exactly what they wear. So there was a huge crowd out there. बहुत बड़ी population थी जो lawn पहनती थी और जो बड़े common जोड़े पहनती थी, जो बोलती थी ये क्या बकवास है ये. But there were those few people who said, holy shit, we love this. Nobody else is making it, man. Right? And like that was crazy loyalty, right? The second thing that we did was we had no money for marketing. बड़े brands billboard लगाते हैं. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but a regular billboard on the street is about 15-20 lakh रुपए per month. Okay? So we just couldn't afford it. It was nuts. At that time, Facebook properly came out and was doing hardcore marketing. And everybody used to joke about e-commerce. And I'm like, dude, screw this. Let's look at e-commerce. Let's look at Facebook. We can beat this. And I spent a lot of time with my good buddy, Shahjahan Chaudhary, T-Mants. I don't know if you know T-Mants or not. And we really got into Facebook before anybody else did. And we got into e-commerce. Today, Ego is, by the way, around 72% online. And we've got 13 stores. So 13 stores is, 28%. Okay, 72% is online. And we said, yaar, yahan pe competition koi nahi hamare paas, yahan pe ghus jate. And it was absolutely true because ads are expensive now, but at that time it was really cheap because nobody was spending money on ads. And we were. The other thing that we did was, because hum niche khel rahe the, I got a few friends, I'm like, dude, tell me who are the women who really are the trendsetters in all the key colleges, universities, and corporates across Pakistan. So we found people in Coke, in Pepsi, in Unilever, in Aga Khan, in IVS. We approached these women. So again, Facebook had just started, okay? So उस ज़माने में influencers as such कोई term नहीं हुआ करता था. And we met with these girls and we said, look, you guys don't wear Ego, we know. We're going to give you clothes for free for 3 months. Okay? 2 outfits every week. Then go, all you need to do is wear them and comment on Facebook. And I'm like, if you hate them, say you hate them. But we were so confident that we had chosen the right women and paired them with the right clothes that we just like took off like a rocket because they would wear this to school. They came for discount coupons, हमने और खरीदने, हमारे दोस्तों ने खरीदने, and it just grew. So it was word of the mouth on steroids, right? It's just incredible. And even today, like the way we use social media as opposed to other people, we use it as a word of the mouth tool. I want to get to you so that you can get to your friends. I don't want to just show you guys all ads, right? And it works incredibly well. So this has been the journey with this. Now we come back to niches, right? So about 2 साल पहले we reached a point where we were big enough to be able to compete in lawn with all the big players, and we've just come out with lawn, by the way. Uh, and it was really interesting. So जब तुम लोग अगर अपना brand शुरू करोगे तो these are the conversations that you want to have with yourself. We said that look, we've really pushed the fact कि ready to wear is the way to go, because unstitched खरीद के टेलर के पास टाइम ज़ाया होता है, फिटिंग के प्रॉब्लम्स, ये सारे issues. And you know, you guys are busy women. We don't want you to go to a tailor. Come buy ready to wear. So when we said that, look, we got to come up with unstitched, is this a bad idea? So in marketing, there is this term called brand stretch, right? I don't know if you're familiar with the stretch or not. Brand stretch means that if Toyota Motor Company decides to make ice cream cones with people accept Toyota ice cream cones, right? So that's a really far stretch, right? But if Toyota Motor Company decides to make tractors, that is less of a stretch. So yeah, so that's what a stretch is. I'm like, will we stretch the brand too far if we do unstaged? Because we've really marketed ourselves towards women who, by the way, it's after my wife. She's the one I started Ego for. And she couldn't find the right clothes, and I said, dude, ये होना चाहिए. और इसका भी बहुत बड़ा हाथ है. So that stretch was, you know, something that I'm like, यार मैं अब इनको बोल रहा हूँ, unstitched खरीदो, ये तो गड़बड़ हो जाएगी. So we did a small survey between friends. They're like, हाँ यार. They're like, no, I buy unstitched not because it's convenient or inconvenient. I buy unstitched because I like to sometimes give it my little touch. And so my ready-to-wear wardrobe is completely different, but I always have these unstitched that I put it together my way. I'm like, cool, yeah, this is something that I never thought of. And we did it, and it's rocked. Like, I should have done unstitched 2 years ago, but it's absolutely rocking. But there are other stretches that we did. अच्छा, fashion life cycle तो तुम लोगों को पता है क्या होता है ना? ठीक है? Like a fad is a really strong curve and it comes down. Fashion goes a little bit longer in time, and a classic stays even longest. Hold on to that. And then there is the adoption curve. Adoption curve means that the trendsetters sort of come in first, and then the early adopters, and then the larger market, and then the last laggards, and so on, right? You guys understand this? All right. So जब हम दबा के डिजाइन कर रहे थे और नई चीजें बना रहे थे, अभी भी हम तकरीबन सारे ब्रांड्स के लिए हम ही डिजाइन करते हैं, तकरीबन. तो जब हम कर रहे थे, everybody was just copying us कि यार this is working, ये छाप लो. तो we said कि अच्छा यार, अब हम इसको भी चेंज कर रहे हैं. Let's only work on fad and not work on fashion. For 2 years, we said only stuff that will have a really high tip like this, and it'll be out of fashion very soon. So we said, in लोगों को copy करने दो, by the time they copy us, we'll be gone. So we did crazy motifs, dragons and rickshaws and crazy stuff. And by the time other, I'm not going to take names, copied us, it was done. Like it was yesterday, you know? Sorry? Copyright कहाँ होता है यार यहाँ? Copyright कोई चीज नहीं. तो पहली चीज ये थी. दूसरी ये चीज थी कि हम फैड में we were really looking at what were the trends going on in music and in art. So people who traveled, the early adopters who were really looking at social media and so on, what were the trends going on? And music is the thing that travels fastest, right? So we took those trends and we created the kind of colors and cuts and things which were just on at that time. And we know that one song, one good piece of music lasts a few weeks, maximum 2 months, 2.5 months, and it's out of your mind. So we knew the trends would not go further than that in most cases. And we designed those things. So how does it affect us now? Like, what do we do today? So today, Ego does pretty much as many designs as the biggest brands do. But we don't do it like them. We have niches like soul and edge, diva. I don't know if you guys follow this, but it can really, it can, well, goSNAPP ego के बाहर है, ये सब तो ego का अंदर है. हाँ, हमने क्या किया? हमने बड़े personality type study करके, in most cases they really fit. Like you'll see, oh, that is really me. And we really keep an eye on this. Our customer service department, we actually do outgoing calls, at least 100 calls every day, and talk to our best customers about, okay, you bought this, how did it go? How was the fit? How was this? How was that? What else would you like to see? And we really stay on top of this. This is what keeps us going. We still don't have the kind of money for marketing because, I'll give you an example. हम लोग जब अनस्टिच बनाते हैं हम 500 पीस बनाते हैं, ठीक है? जब सतरंगी अनस्टिच बनाता है वो 2500 पीस बनाता है, ठीक है? So the margins of shoot and marketing and packaging and all are cut into just 500 pieces as opposed to 2500 pieces. It may not sound like a big thing, but in terms of margins for doing other things, it's a really big thing. So anyways, so this is where we are now. We have got 3 other lines coming up. We got a chappal ki line coming up. And again, you know, I love challenges. Almost nobody in Pakistan in the women's thing has been able to launch a shoe line without having physical presence, because women like to try their first few pairs on and get their fitting right. So we're taking this challenge on. It's about to happen. We are launching another Western line, which is going to come up soon, and another formal line because sole, you guys know? Yes. Sole is very minimalistic. It's something that, you know, you would like. And yeah, I get that too. But this formal line we're doing is crazier, and it's more for the international market. तो ये काम जी चल रहे हैं और yeah, absolutely. There was a huge debate on that. Even now, you know, women say we don't like this tab sticking out, but it really works. It really works. There's small things that work that you remember, you know, about places. Anyways, we have time, and I've got a lot of things to talk about yet. Sorry. How many of you have been to the East End? Okay. Very sad. So East End जो है ना बड़ी मजेदार सी चीज है. बैक स्टोरी सुनानी पड़ेगी, मेरी हर चीज की बैक स्टोरी होती है. Like I said, I went to college when I was 16, and I eventually, a year later, went to the Philadelphia College of Textiles, where I met this gorgeous girl that I thought would never go out with me, but she did. So अब मैं फंस गया, मैंने कहा कहाँ लेके जाऊँ इसको? And she was a gori, and I said, dude, देसी खाने से अच्छा खाना तो कोई दुनिया में है ही नहीं. Which is true to some extent. मैंने कहा मैं इसने कभी देसी खाना नहीं खाया, I'm gonna take her. So there was this only one awesome desi restaurant in Philadelphia called New Delhi, and I took her there, and lo and behold, the food was amazing. There's no doubt. But that's when I realized that I went into this restaurant which looked really bad, and the presentation of desi food is terrible, no matter where, pretty much no matter where you go. And there's nothing impressive about the whole ambiance and the whole experience. Only the food is great. We don't know how to plate, we don't know how to present, we don't even know how to name the dishes. And at that time I said कि यार मैं कभी अगर restaurant खोलूंगा ना तो ऐसा नहीं होगा. And so, please.
So Adil and Danish are really good friends, and Abdullah was a year old. Adil हमारे घर आते थे, and Adil यार Danish में ये, and it's like 20 years back, right?
It's yes, that sounds about right.
So he comes in, 2 घंटे 2.5 घंटे I'm going to do these dresses and everything. अच्छा फिर बड़ी जब and then we start. फिर एक दो हफ्ते बाद यार दानिश मैं ना साया यार मैं ये खाना कंटेनर वो और ये और वो और सब कुछ very good यार. फिर आता यार दानिश, एक दिन आया मैं कहा आदि बहुत बातें हो गई हैं, ये चीजें कब आएंगी, because you just come and talk and we're not seeing any of that. But like I said, I remember I told you, Adil तो बातें करके चली जाती इतनी बड़ी मतलब ये होगा कब? And he's like, I don't know what you replied at that time, but like I said कि those things were cooking up, and like when you believe
मेरे ज़मीर को ललकारा है इसने.
yeah. And I remember Abdullah was like, so he was like just calling himself, and I was saying that yeah आएगा और ये कोई नई कहानी सुना के नहीं जाएगा. And then was Rahani again. That's the day I told him. But then again, we have a lot of ideas in our head. Don't let them go. You know, just believe in them. Like, mashallah, say you have a background, Moosajee.
I'm gonna talk about how ideas turn into reality.
But then again, comes from a very solid background. You have a history of Moosajees. But then again, Paise Pathan City and everything. So, you know, these are things that you really need to understand that when you're passionate about something, it is going to happen if you do not let go of your dreams. So that's very important. And he's a living example of that. I've seen it.
इतना ग्लैमरस नहीं है जितना ये बता रही हैं. मैं आपको, क्योंकि ये कहानी मैं आपको जो सुना रहा हूँ ना, इसको समझ आ जाएगी. So हुआ ये कि 3 stories happened, how East End happened. And this is very important because if you follow how other people start businesses, you will need more money than them. You will need the same kind of people, and it doesn't happen unless you got a lot of money to throw away. So ये restaurant का idea मेरे दिमाग में था, and multiple things happened. One thing that happened was there was an interim chief minister of Sindh, a minister of Sindh, who wanted to do a campaign of positivity in Karachi. And Shahjahan, my friend, and I, we created the most amazing campaign for Karachi, I think, jiske andar there were supposed to be 10 feet posters across the city with, let's say, posters of Memon talking in Punjabi to a Pathan kid telling him that you're my child, right? Bengalis talking in Sindhi to a Mahajir kid saying that, hello, that yoga, right? So it was like mixing all the ethnic minorities and sort of putting them, you know, in these posters to bring Yakjehti, right? And finally, when we made the presentation to this woman, she said ke baat sune, ye Sindh hai aur sara kaam Sindhi mein hoga, aap gareeb bacche dikhaye isme aur ye campaign aise kare execute. And then she threw me out of her office. So this is one story that happened when I'm like, dude, Karachi is really on its feet because a mixture of people. They bring food together, fashion together, crazy jokes together. Like this cannot be found anywhere else in the world. It's incredible. But anyways, तो ये फटा शुरू हो गया यहाँ पे. Then I had a maid who used to work at our house and clean. So my wife was not here, and none of the younger women would come and work in my house saying ye banda akela rehta hai. They wouldn't get permission. And my house is kind of big. My great grandmother made it, and it's sizable. So you know, you couldn't get a amma and get her to clean such a big place. It was just not right. And I used to work from home. So it was just all hodgepodge. Anyway, so the friend of mine called me. She said, look, there is this woman who used to work for me and I don't need her anymore. तो उसको hire कर ले, बेहतरीन है. मैं ठीक है. उसको hire कर ले, but I was so busy. I just hired her and didn't have time to talk. She would like clean the place. What other people would do in a whole day, she would be done in 2.5 hours. And I'll cut the story short. One day she came to me and she said, "Ke I need more work to do. I'm a single mother, and you know, do you have more work?" And I'm like, "Okay, you know, can you cook? You know, come to my office and cook." And then she started cooking, dude. Like, she was a hardcore Punjabi chef who had worked for a Korean family for 2 years. So the kind of like fusion she would do would blow your mind, right? And then so I said, "Acha yaar, meri dadi ki ek cookbook hai," and my dadi was gone. I took out that cookbook and she and I started reviving these recipes. She couldn't read and write. So I would take her to any restaurant. I remember the first time she said, "Aap mujhe kuch bhi khila de." मैं उसको लेके फुजियामा चला गया. That time it was a top Japanese restaurant. मैंने कहा अच्छा इसके ज़्यादा हीरो बनती है, इसको दिखाता हूँ. मैं उसको फुजियामा लेके चला गया and she tried, I don't know what it was that she tried. It was some udon noodles or something. And I remember the plate coming in front of us and she dipped her fingers in there and then she had tasted it. And then she's like, "Dude, like take me to Agha's." I took her to Agha's and you know, at that time, God bless Agha's, which is not up anymore. And she went through the whole masala section and all the bottles she would open. She would, "Ye le le. Ye le le." And she bought everything. And she nailed it. And then I would take her to all these challenges. She would nail it. To cut a long story short, eventually she was a great factor because I used to love these Kemari crabs. And over time, the Kemari crabs had become terrible. एक तो they would find them too close to the shoreline, so very heavy on mercury. I guess that's where some of the creativity comes from. And also, a lot of them, you know, the food that we enjoy, don't really know how to cook it. They overcook it. They don't put the masala there. The whole bunch of problems there. So उस जमाने में हम एक बीच हट ट्रेंड करते थे हमारी कजिन से. उनका जो चौकीदार था ना, मैंने उसको बोला, मैंने कहा यार तुम्हारे यहाँ क्रैब कौन फिट बनाता है? तो यार मेरी बहू जो है ना, शी इज नोन इन दिस एंटायर रीजन. कहा ठीक है. मैं गुलनाज को लेके उसके पास चला गया. 2 दिन छोड़ा है मैं उसके पास. मैं कहा तू क्रैब बनाना सीख. And so this is how we developed the entire East End recipes, right? And the third thing that happened was that somebody had given me money to develop certain other recipes for them. I used to cook too. And they disappeared on me. So I had all these recipes ready, which, you know, they were there, paid for. And so what is East End today was a warehouse for ego. And I'm like, ये सब बना लिया है तो शुरू करते हैं. So Gulnas came together, this problem came together because I wanted to start a restaurant which represented Karachi. So East End today has a Bori, Parsi, Mehman, very yesterday Karachi menu. It's a 5-course meal, master chef. And you'll have Kemadi, you'll have Sindhi, you'll get a whole bunch of stuff there. It's a 2.5-2-hour experience. You better be hungry when you go there. So the point is, eventually Gulnaz became my partner in that restaurant, and it's been running for 11 years. I remember पहले 6 महीने ना, because जगह छुपा के हमने बनाई, आप ढूंढ नहीं सकते आराम से, क्योंकि पैसे उतने ही थे रेंट देने के. तो जहां हमने रेस्टोरेंट बनाई, आप ऐसे नहीं पहुंच सकते अनलेस कि कोई आपको उसका लिंक भेजे या कुछ भेजे. So the thing that happened was, a friend of mine told me कि यार अगर ये जगह चल गई तो मैं मान जाऊंगा, because I mean location is everything, like how marketing teaches us. And this was like 0 on all 3. And for first 6 months, my sister wanted a reservation and she couldn't get it. So it was like really cool. It's been running for 11 years now, and all word of the mouth. So essentially what we did was, I have a few friends. I changed 5 schools. I went to 2 colleges, and I worked about 3 months at about 10 different jobs. So I have a lot, I keep in touch with people. So I called a lot of people at the time when we were launching, and I'm like, look, I need, you guys were part of it too. I called all my friends and I said, look, तुम लोग को 2 टेबल बुक करने हैं यहाँ पे, अपने फ्रेंड्स को लेकर आना है, और फोटोग्राफ्स फेसबुक और इंस्टाग्राम पे लगना जरूरी है, ठीक है, और पैसे भी देने हैं. And I got everybody to book 2 tables every day, because what happens is when you start marketing and people come into a new restaurant and it's all empty, it's just them, it seems kind of like, yaar, you know, क्या होगा. हाँ. So we thought, यार इस तरह कम से कम 2 टेबल तो एंकर होंगे और बाकी जितने आएंगे, it's all good, right? And yeah, man, it worked. Like people started just talking about, it's a crazy experience. 2 घंटे लगते हैं, ऐसे खाना आता है, यूं होता है. There is still no other experience pretty much like it.
And the best part is, all you need to go and say Bora menu, or you just say Kimari menu, or just, that's all you have to say. उसके बाद वो खुद आता है.
So there are learnings here, okay? I think that people spend too much time thinking about things. You got to think about things in macro. For example, acha, by the way, everything works the same. Khana, food, kapde, everything works the same. So if I talk about the outfit that Saira is wearing, you know, the major expense is the fabric and the work. उस पे जो हाथ की कराई हुई है. और बड़ी सारी चीजें, लेबल है और पैकेजिंग है और फला है ढिमका है, लेकिन you don't have time to put all these costings together, but you can in one day get the costing for this outfit easily, right? Then you need to know mote expenses, not all of them, enough to understand your playground and see, look, if I'm going to do this business, how many do I need to sell? उसमें margin कितना होगा और खर्चे निकल जाएंगे कि नहीं और कितने टाइम में निकलेंगे, ठीक है? Then you have to think, मेरी अम्मी की कितनी दोस्तें हैं, किनसे मैं जबरदस्ती खरीदवा सकता हूँ एक outfit. So you got to put all of these things together, because the initial part, until the momentum is developed, is something you need to engineer. You got to either get a hold of people and convince them that this is great, or you need to tell them, look, this is great, trust me, khareed le yaar, bhai nahi hai. And I've done this all. I have sold things with my own hands, and that's why things work, because Instantly, you know, as soon as you made something, कि यार ये नहीं चल रहा है, and I need to tweak this. This is what this person is saying, इसकी fitting length सही नहीं है, सही नहीं है, वो सही नहीं है, खाने में मसाला ज़्यादा है, whatever it might be. And until the day you give up, it's not a failed venture because you can always tweak it and make it better. The day you decide कि मैं थक गया हूँ यार इसको बंद कर दो, is the day you actually lose. I have very short steam, right? Like my energy level is a few weeks long. So from conception to execution is usually a few weeks. And then the team who runs it takes over and takes it further. But my point is कि वो steam नहीं जाने देना चाहिए. वो मतलब अगर आपका steam लंबा भी last करता है तो you know कि जो initial sprint time होता है ना, that is key. In assignments, in anything, right? The initial, use that. So that's number one, right?
For example, to anchor it to their classroom, so they often say, "Oh, हम लोग जब class में होते, we have all these motivations and everything, but the minute we step out and go home,
Yeah.
it kind of." But that's what you're saying. You have to anchor.
Yeah. And so anchor it is important because Saira said that, you know, I would come and I would keep talking about these ideas. I'm telling you, I have a lot more ideas than what I've executed. And I'll never get done with them. And if I had waited till figuring out which one of them do I really want to execute and which is the best, no. You say, okay, what would work now? What kind of energy and money and network and resources I have today? ये चलेगा? अच्छा ठीक है, lock कर दो. Let's work it out. Work out the details. 2, 3, 4 days in. Talk to your favorite khala. यार इतने पैसे चाहिए, काम शुरू करना है. Get out there, do it really small, fall on your face, get back up, fall on your knees, get back up, stop falling, start running, done. And I mean, it sounds easy, but I've done it 13 times and I'm really dumb, okay? So if I can do it, shouldn't be a problem.
So what made you like, "Hey, I have to get up and do it again," because after so many losses, like you like failed businesses and everything, what was that one thing that
What failed businesses?
like you said that, "Hey,
Abhi, I failed one business, Abhi,
not right now."
during COVID.
Very apologize.
No, I have had no failed businesses. The first business that I started when I was 15, the furniture business, 4 of us started. I sold my shares when I went to the US again to study. So 100% success. The second business that I started was the men's tailoring store, and the success of that store gave way to Moosajee's 26th Street. So, and the whole staff moved there. So 100% success.
No, I think she means when you actually said you
Oh,
tried
during the process of a business, when you fall, what makes you get up?
Yes,
यार ये तो जो है ना personality trait है. मैं बहुत ढीठ हूँ. It's true. I mean, I wish I had a better answer. I really like feel that when I close my eyes and see a business or a process through, I'm a little overconfident, I think, you know. And it's not about anybody else. I mean, I can't lose to myself. So I'm like, dude, I'm going to make this work. And I know people are. I don't know what to do about them, man. You know, shrooms I've heard. No. But seriously, there are people who are risk takers and who will never stop. It's called grit, right? Who will just never stop. And there are people who give up very easily. And I think you should know that, यार ये मेरा काम नहीं है, मैं नौकरी कर लेता हूँ. And it's not a bad thing. I mean, people who do jobs, a lot of them do much better than I do. And it's a good life. I couldn't do it. I go to work, generally speaking, I go to work 7:30 in the morning. I'm done by 1:30 in the afternoon. I get in my car and I go to the beach. And you couldn't do that at a job, you know? And I couldn't live my life any other way. I wear shorts to work and a t-shirt, and I sometimes cook at work, and I do whatever the hell I want. That's how I like to live. It's a difficult, you know, people feel कि तू अपना business कर रहा है यार, क्या मजे है तेरे. ऐसा कोई scene नहीं है. You know, everything stops at you. All the problems end up at you. Everything that goes wrong is your fault. And anybody who doesn't show up to work, you have to do their job that day, from Safai to marketing to whatever. And it's a very tough world, especially in the beginning. But not giving up is a personality trait.
I guess it's about manifestation.
It is as well. And it's manifestation of yourself. Like, I'm a winner. That's your manifestation. Not that I'm going to do this. You do. If you're a winner, you do anything, you're going to win. Because, I mean, you're going to trip and fall and learn things along the way. Be ready for that. And, yeah.
I think
100%.
it's also how your brain works, ideas. So that's also something I understand because every single day I'm coming up with new ideas without anything sabar, taba mostly kind of anchors me back into everyday life. But I think it's just these ideas, and I'm also manifesting them in
Yeah.
different forms. But it's always there, always trying something different. I think it's that urge to
Yeah.
create something.
Yeah. I've got 9 more minutes and I was almost like about to forget talking about one thing. You got to set the right team. It's like your team really has to be completely opposite than you. All the weaknesses that you have need to be strengths in other people, and your key strength needs to be lesser of a strength of other people, because otherwise conflict hota hai. So that's number one. And the number two is that your plan has to be so much more energetic that other great people decide कि नहीं यार, forget my vision, let's work with yours. And I think if you can do these two things, you get the right team, and then forget supporting you through work, supporting you through energy crisis, you know, through, I mean, the kind of story I've told you, these are problem solving, big problem solving issues every few months, complete life changing, physically moving, being in a new business altogether. What amazing adventures and stories that they give you. But yeah, only way to do awesome business with very little money is to not give up. बहुत अच्छा सवाल है. सवाल ये, what made you think कि brand का नाम ego होना चाहिए? I didn't think of ego. You know, a whole bunch of my students who were very close to me came to my house. We made coffee, or was it Coke? And we sat and I gave everybody parches and I told them, look, this brand is going to be progressive. It's going to be so cool, right? And I'm like, I will know you've done a right job if you love it and your mother hates it, right? So this is the brand, and I want you guys to come up with the right name for it. And everybody wrote names, and then we like took them around and we canceled some and kept them. And the name that won was Forbidden. Okay. And so we went with Forbidden. We actually designed the label, but the label was really long. And we're like, nahi yaar, ye to nahi jamega. What was the second choice? And that was ego. I'm like, yaar, ego works better for me, you know? And yeah, that's it. It was ego. Batul Abid came up with ego. Uh, the question is, how's the country's economic situation and how's your brand doing through it? Yeah, you know, it's surprising that it's doing well. I think it's the black economy that's really kind of keeping it sustained. Uh, Stand-up comedy is the next thing I'm going to start. यार, हुआ ये, मैं आपको बताऊं, इसमें ज़्यादा अक्ल नहीं लगाई मैंने. हुआ ये कि पिछले साल, बिफोर द इकोनॉमिक डाउनटर्न, we already decided we're going to expand. So we had to physically expand our factory and expand our e-commerce warehouse. So वो हम जो बड़े खर्चे थे ना, वो कर चुके थे जब डॉलर गिरा और ऐसी की तैसी हो गई. So then it was too late, like the bullet was out of the gun, and we decided that screw it, like now we're going to just eat up everybody. And so we did an even aggressive plan ताकि overheads काटूं. And I think over the next few months you'll see we'll be in everything. Yeah, I mean, there's no choice. It's a very small market, and we feel that we have some of the best strategies out there to make it. And it's a challenge, and this is our latest challenge. अगले टॉक पे जब मैं आऊंगा तो बताऊंगा मर गए और ये हुआ, इसकी कहानी सुनाऊंगा आपको. लेकिन if anybody tells you they have a plan in the kind of sectors like luxury sectors like fashion or food or other retail, are lying to you. We are all blind. We are all running through a dark tunnel right now, hoping कि कुछ आ जाएगा सामने. We don't know. Yeah. Thank you.
So which one is doing better, soul or edge? I know they have two totally different ideologies.
So uh, सोल इज डूइंग बेटर या उसकी वजह उसका प्राइस पॉइंट भी ज़्यादा है, उसकी एक्सेप्टेबिलिटी ज़्यादा है सोल की. एज इज अ लिटिल क्रेजी. एब्सोल्युटली. यार वो हमारे यहाँ बड़ा सिंपल होता है. सो ईच लाइन दैट वी डेवलप गोज थ्रू अ ट्रांजिशन ऑफ इंक्यूबेशन and then going towards maturity and then fully mature.
And the shop that you have, the solar edge one, is for you having an eatery, something coming up?
Yeah, there's a restaurant opening day after tomorrow.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know where solar edge is. It's Bukhari mein, na?
छोटू चाय वाला देखा है आपने बुखारी पे? बिल्कुल उसके सामने है. And this place that we're opening, it's called KiKi's. It's a Pan-Asian street food joint. It's opening shortly. Yeah. In about 2 or 3 days. Yeah.
So then there'll be Eastern and KiKi's.
वो ऊपर होगा और ये नीचे होगा. हाँ.
नहीं.
It's called the KiKi's Cafe.
The one that you were planning on top.
वो हमने अभी नहीं किया है. Funky Crow. Yeah.
Somewhere on the back end.
Yeah. Soon, next year. Anyways, any more questions? Yes. Yes. नहीं यार ये शुरू में हो गया था. And I've had it, I mean, it was never diagnosed earlier when I was in college, and I had a lot of difficulty going through school and going through college. I would do really well in stuff like math and physics and stuff and art, but I would do terribly when things needed to be remembered. And I couldn't read. I would keep jumping, so my comprehension was like pretty bad too. But most of that time went. But I think that over time, what happened was, while going through this, I already developed the mechanisms on how to work with it. And I think they work with me till now. But what happened with ego was that it became really big really fast. And I don't know how to manage people. Like, I can manage work, but I can't manage people. And Shalim is amazing at managing people. So he took over and he said, okay, I'll do this and you do the growth and development part. And that's how we kind of separated it. And that's how it's run ever since. But in all the businesses, there is a partner in the food business that runs it operationally. And I create and plate and do the marketing bit, and I do the interiors and so on.
How do you deal with the losses? That was a young age also. Great. He said he didn't give up.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. See, the thing is that you're right. Initially, a lot of money was lost, making mistakes and things going wrong. हाँ. हाँ. यार वो मेरे ख्याल से एक तो पर्सनालिटी ट्रेट जो मैं बात कर रहा था वो था. उसके अलावा मेरे ख्याल से मेरे पास कोई चॉइस भी नहीं थी. अगर मैं ईगो वाली चीज, वो पहले दो तो बहुत छोटे बिजनेसेस थे और खैर था, लेकिन दे वर्कड और उसमें कोई ज्यादा खर्चा भी नहीं था. लेकिन जो ईगो था ना, आई थिंक कि उसमें सब कुछ लग चुका था, सबका, मेरी पूरी फैमिली का. एंड आई थिंक दैट देयर वाज नो वे आउट. एक तो वैसे भी आई वाज नॉट द पर्सन टू गिव अप. Let's say that if I was doing something completely new, okay, I was going to make spaceships to take you around the world, the universe, and if that failed, I'd be like, हाँ यार, हमें किसी ने कभी spaceship नहीं बनाई है, बड़ा मुश्किल काम है. लेकिन if I'm going to do a ready-to-wear brand that's been done everywhere in the world, there is a way to make it work. Either it's the right price, the right material, the right fitting, the right marketing. Something is wrong why it's not working, right? And I know I can fix it. You just have to identify it. I know I'm oversimplifying it, but it is that it is very simple. There is a problem there, and by saying मैं नहीं कर सकता, you just find the problem. I'm not saying you're the problem. you just find the problem, man. Yeah, I mean, when you look at it that way, when you dissect things, you can always make it work, right? Yeah, unless your faculty is terrible and they, okay. Yeah. कभी क्या, हम तो रोज सफर करते हैं क्रिटिसिज्म। यार देखो, everything that I do, I'm wearing asymmetrical shoes right now, by the way, digitally printed. And I paid a lot of money for this. I mean, compared to what I pay for other shoes. And I got a lot of criticism from my wife. And I loved it. I'm like, yeah, baby. You know, um, whenever you're going to do something for a niche, which means that, let's say that, I'm designing something for Amina, and I really get into what she likes and design something extraordinary that only it's engineered for her. There's a good chance that a lot of people in the like, kya vahiyat cheez pehni hai? But that's fine. It's designed for her. It's her personality. It's her style. It's my imagination of how that personality comes together. So whenever you're doing something niche, two things will happen. A lot of people will give you a criticism, but you'll get a very small loyal following. हम ऐसे हैं, ठीक है? But when you're doing something that everybody likes, you'll get no criticism, but people will not be able to tell your lawn apart from other brands' lawns either, right? So those kind of problems with always, that's a choice that you do. And trust me, I'm not looking for people to not criticize me. मतलब कोई मसला ही नहीं है जी। I taught for 7 years. हाँ. Hmm. 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 Ooh. You know, no, you don't know because you're too young. Do you remember when there only used to be one FM channel? Yeah. So you do know. Okay. So, yeah, so we're only 20 years apart. Okay. Um, so so when the first channel opened, they figured everything out. कि यार ये होना चाहिए, एक ghazal program होगा, इतने English program होंगे, all of that happened. Then another one opened which just copied them, and it worked because there was such a big public, and then a whole bunch of copycats. Then specialty came out, right? Like FM 89 came out and said we're going to do only English, and then 106.4 came out, for example, they did something different. We are there right now. There are a whole bunch of brands that are doing identical everything. And I think that this is the time for individual voices, not only for brands, for people. I think now, you couldn't see this at my time. You could see it when women would end up wearing Western clothes. But when they would wear, when I was your age, when you would see women wearing stuff, there were 3 brands making lawn, and there was, they were the same clothes, only yaar maine gala itna niche kar liya, maine itna upar kar. That was it. Um, but today, you can actually go through your own class and you can very simply just tell kaun sa banda kaun se dabbe mein jata hai in terms of the kind of clothes they like to wear and what their personalities are like. And the brands are not doing this. Brands are saying, kya bikta hai, batao, And so they are doing like this much production for this much margin. Because it's very difficult to do this much production for just these few people and this much production for these few people. And I think this is where we are heading. I mean, since we don't have names for them, but when like music revolutions would come in the West, punk rock, the entire fashion would change, but it would change for the handful of people. But they would be punk rock for the next 20 years. So if you did spikes and leather and stuff, I mean, they had you had them for the next 20 years, right? And then if somebody like tattoo, you went completely that way, and somebody like the same thing is happening here now. There are choices in music, there are choices in art, there are choices in lifestyle changes, So मेरे ख्याल से this is where we need to go. We need to really lock down niches and get that loyalty. And I think it's going to happen, definitely. Hmm.
but maybe very interesting observation is like it is the way ego is like prominent at least at the time when it started off, right? So I always used to make a comparison between TJ's and ego in the sense that it stood apart.
Yeah.
Not that your design was like TJ's, but the way TJ stood apart as
Yeah.
great brand, I think ego came and filled that void. That was really
Yeah. Good times. Yes.
I have two questions.
Yes.
What do you think to go from home brand to a own place? And the second question is, do you think to make a modest clothes or a buyer whatever?
I am working on that.
Are you?
Yes.
He's working on everything.
I am working on a buyer.
Now you're working on something traditional.
A buyer, modest wear. No, not yet. Not yet. I'm not big for weddings. यार बहुत ख्वारी वाला काम है, and it's very designer dependent, right? And see, the thing is that I kind of like to do things where I really understand the process. So I can do, let's say, from fabric selection to pattern making to grading to marker making to cutting, and I can do every sewing operation till the end, and I can even sell my garment. This is my serious ADHD at work, right? Bridals I cannot do. And since I cannot do, it's, look, I mean, you want to think that you're going to work with an employee and they will stay with you forever because we're such a great team. But they're going to get married, they're going to get Canada immigration. I mean, things are going to happen. Your team is going to keep changing. And keeping that taste consistent becomes very difficult when the taste is not with me. And so bridals is something that I cannot do. But modest wear is something that I can. Sorry. So your first question was, how did I go from food to from clothes to food? Technically, I went from furniture to men's clothing, but the thing is that I'm not a fashion designer. I changed 7 majors in college. I went from computer science to a double major in psychology and philosophy to architecture to fashion apparel management to fashion design to philosophy again, and then they said, "Ke bhai, tu ab chhod de college." So I graduated in fashion apparel management. I changed 7 majors. Once I went to college, I got interested in everything. I still am. Aquaponics se lekar beekeeping and everything works for me. And whatever I feel like doing, I plan it out. It's not that I jump, which most people think I do, but I plan it out and I put it in my time slot and I do it. And if it works well, then I'll do it commercially. Yeah.
As you said before, the first business you did was about furniture.
Yes.
Right? And you kept on mentioning that you did it for Ego and then East End. So have you ever thought of starting your own interior school?
I did. It was called Zoc when I was 15. And there were 4 of us friends. We were all 15. And I ran it for 1 year while I was here. And then I went to the US. And then they ran it for the next 7, 8 years. यार वो it was never 100% me. आपने कभी किया है किसी का इंटीरियर का काम? हाँ? ठीक है. So, okay, you, for your friend, okay, the friend is different. But generally, in an interior design business, other people tell you that we want to hire the best designer, which I'm not, but they tell you they want to have the best designer. Then they'll tell you everything that they want. And they don't want anything that you want. And then they will not pay you in the end. So it is not the business to do, I think. तो ये मैंने कहा ये ऐसे गेम नहीं बनेगी. जी. Okay, let's go with her first. Yes. बिल्कुल ठीक है. ठीक है. मेरा प्रोसेस मैं आपको बता देता हूँ. मेरे पास अगर 100 आइडिया है तो उनमें से 10 जो अभी बिल्कुल मेरे गिर्द घूम रही हैं उनको मैं पेपर पे लिख देता हूँ, ठीक है, या दिमाग के पेपर पे लिख देता हूँ, जो भी है. So you have these 10 ideas. Then I quickly say which is something that I'm most excited about, least excited about. Problems किस में मुझे दिखाई दे रहे हैं बड़े बड़े, पैसे किस में ज्यादा चाहिए और मेरे पास हैं कि नहीं है. तो ये ना इस तरह चीजें कट होती जाती हैं, दो तीन रह जाते हैं, एंड देन इन्नी मिनी माइनी मो करके एक पिक कर लेता हूँ. बट द रीजन वाई इट वर्क्स इज बिकॉज वंस आई पिक्ड इट, I never think about the other ideas until I'm in execution of this idea. फिर दुनिया में कोई नहीं. शादी की तरह है, you know, आपने एक लड़का जब चुन लिया फिर बाकी नहीं है, इस तरह की चीज. तो it works very well. हाँ. That was, you had a question. Oh, you हो गया. Okay.
You've explored a lot, careers में हो, businesses में हो, whatever. So you have so many people working under you as well. So many people working under you as well, right?
Right.
So how do you know, like you said, कि you should have a good team, like a good team of people which is manageable. So how do you know that they are the right people to trust your business with?
Right.
Because you've done multiple things, right?
Right.
Like ठीक है, ठीक है, आपको होनी चाहिए manager.
Yeah.
How do you know that they are the right people? कि हम आपके brand में दिखा सकते हैं?
All right. I'm going to give you a very sad belief system, but it's true. I believe every person has a breaking point. There is some point beyond which somebody will screw up. But that screw up doesn't have to be they'll steal from you or whatever, but like responsibility ends, or amount of energy ends, or they get another vision, or something or the other, and people will leave, or people will cheat, or people will do something or the other. Okay? So other people call this कि loyalty नहीं है, and that is the difference. So what I don't call it that. I feel that do you know Tony Robbins? If you have these kind of questions in your head, Tony Robbins is the guy to listen to. Okay, it's like really cool. Anyways, वो ये कहता है कि यार अगर आपने वाकई कोई सीरियस काम करना है ना, वैसे तो आपने अगर दुकान चलानी है तो आपने 4 एम्प्लॉइज रखने हैं, इंटरव्यू लेके रख लोगे आप. बट इफ यू आर ऑन अ मिशन, यू वांट टू बिल्ड समथिंग ह्यूज, राइट, you have to make sure that you're working with lions, but your idea and your energy needs to be so much bigger than theirs that वो अपने आइडिया को बिल्कुल साइड पे कर दें और आप क्या. So I have to keep refueling what I do and keep it so exciting they would rather work with me than anybody else. So my staff, if you walk into my factory, or if you walk into my studio, or if you walk into any of my places, you will meet people who've been with me for 15 years, 10 years, 12 years. Even सिलाई वाले जो पीस रेट में हैं, वो majority of the factory, and I mean minus people, you know, जो growth के बाद आए, शुरू वाले हैं वो अभी तक हैं. वो पहले जो 8 लोग थे जिन्होंने मशीन ली थी मुझसे, वो भी हैं. जो बंदा पहली दफा मेरे साथ फर्नीचर काम में जिसने मुझे ज्वाइन किया था, वो भी है मेरे साथ. He's my factory GM. Yeah, I mean this is also a personality trait, I think. You had another question. You're like, the people who report to you, how do they stay? Is what you said. Very few people report to me. Only 4 people do. My head of operations, Shalim, head of design, Misha, head of finance, my best friend, and a consultant. Just 4 people.
Because you've set the system in such a way that everybody has a reporting head and everything doesn't come to you to set.
Correct. Like I speak to everybody, but officially they don't report to me. And the reason is, again, is part of the ADHD, right? So it's like once I've like given you a plan, I've moved on. And now the plan has evolved. So when I start talking to everybody, I'm talking to new versions of the same plan with everybody. And they're like, oh, hello, ये execute तो हो जाने दो. So इसीलिए जो है ना ये barriers और ज़रूरी होते हैं.
काफी ईगो को काफी लोगों ने कॉपी भी किया, मतलब उससे इंस्पायर्ड होके. तो क्या ईगो ने कभी किसी को इंस्पायर्ड होके कुछ सोचा है कि मुझे
हमने बहुत कॉपी की है. नहीं. सो जो हमारा कैजुअल वेयर जब हमने शुरू किया था ना, उसके अंदर लाइक आई सेड देयर वाज नो अदर कैजुअल वेयर आउट देयर. ओके, इट वाज ऑल लॉन इन कराची एट लीस्ट. और we had to come up with ideas कि यार casual wear होता क्या है. And so I would go at that time. H&M and Zara weren't there. I mean, there used to be Gap, there used to be J. Crew and Tommy Hilfiger, and all of these guys. And I would go through their websites and go physically visit their stores and see what kind of necklines and shoulders and how were they treating the sleeves and kya chal rahe the. And then we would experiment, only make 5 pieces. Full production was 15 pieces. We would only make 5 pieces, see how people would react, and learn from it, and then sort of design more. So obviously we learned from all international brands, but there were no.
Island elephants also in your
You did absolutely. So yes, I mean, we took inspiration from everything that was casual, and but yeah. ठीक है, सारे सवाल के सही जवाब है. मार्क्स. हाँ. बिल्कुल सही है. यार आपको हमेशा लोग मिलेंगे जो उनके हिसाब से आपकी बेहतरी के लिए, या वो लोग जो अपने आप को डेढ़ होशियार समझते हैं. ये काफी वैरायटी है लोगों की, जो हमेशा आके आपको, क्या वर्ड था, क्रिटिसाइज करेंगे. If you in your head have clarity on what you're doing, just close that, smile. वो सुनती रहोगी तो हर बंदे के पास एक नई चीज है बताने को आपको. नहीं हो सकता.
disarming you. So वो तो mental तो आपको इसमें मैं आपको अपने साथ बताती हूँ. मेरे साथ मुझे बहुत लोग कहते हैं, a lot of people say तुम आज कहाँ मैं कल मैं यहाँ, तो तुम हर वक्त तुम you keep rotating, you can't stick to one place. And then I actually way to point out, I said, oh my god, am I like that? But then I started realizing that no, actually I like to set up places, I like to build institutes वगैरह. So I remember when I was at TIP, there was so much that we expanded at TIP. मैं तो उनकी साइंस के डिपार्टमेंट में लेके डिजाइन में कर रहे थे, and then TMUC, and then we built it, and then ITC. So I like the idea of building blocks. Maybe after 2 years I'll be out of here because I feel I'm done.
Yeah.
There's nothing more that I need to give to ITC. Now somebody else can just now run it. But so it's that thing of doing more, building things, creating ideas. I mean, creating things out of ideas. So that's very important. And there will be a lot of people. मुझे बहुत लोग कहते तुम तो ये जगह टिकती नहीं हो. And I said हाँ मैं बात. But then I said no. Actually तो मैं टिकी हुई हूँ. I'm in academics. I'm just helping people build institutes. So I actually said nahi. So now I say कि नहीं. I am in academics. I'm anchored in academics. It's just that I like to build institutes. And then when I feel I've done my bit, I'm happy to move on to another.
आपने बैग तो उठा लिया, अभी टॉक खत्म नहीं हुई है.
All right,
Thank you so much for having me. It was wonderful.